Salt Lake real estate is about to change forever with new stadiums, tech hubs, changing downtown landscapes, and entire communities that are rising fast. But what does this mean for you? I'm Rychen Jones with House Money Real Estate. I'm a realtor and associate broker here in the Salt Lake City area, and I've got my finger on the pulse of this market. And today we are looking at the future of Salt Lake real estate. The Wasatch Front is growing fast. It's got new developments, job growth, and people pouring in from all over the country. But what does that mean for our housing market? Let's dive into the trends and projects shaping our future. Let's start with the local economy because that's the engine driving our real estate market. The Wasatch Front is booming. Salt Lake City has become a hub for diverse industries tech, tourism, health, education, others. And job growth here is outpacing many other Western cities with a 2.3% annual increase in the past year. That's about 39,000 jobs based on a study from Steadily. That's huge for a metro area like ours. Tech in particular is a big driver. Companies are setting up shop for all along the Wasatch Front because of our educated workforce. Did you know that our working class population has more tech degrees per capita than many bigger cities like Denver or Portland? That's according to a study by the Downtown Alliance. And with employers choosing office spaces downtown, surrounded by dining, sports, entertainment, Salt Lake is attracting top talent and top companies. And the job growth just isn't slowing down. It's pulling in young, tech savvy workers who want to live close to where they work. It's also pulling in families looking for strong school districts and neighborhoods, which is fueling demand for housing in urban and suburban areas from Ogden to Provo and west to Harriman, Eagle Mountain, even places like Tooele and Grantsville. Now let's talk about in-migration because it's a massive factor shaping our real estate future as well. For years, Utah's growth came mostly from natural increase, big families, high birth rates, things like that. But now we're seeing a wave, and we have been seeing a wave of people moving here from places like California, New York, Texas, Nevada, Arizona. I myself am from Oregon. Why? Well, there's the lower cost of living compared to other Western metro cities. There's the strong economy. There's the state and local tax situation that's favorable to businesses and individuals, and the unbeatable outdoor lifestyle, obviously, which is what many people know Utah for. It's skiing in the wintertime, it's hiking and water sports in the summertime in the mountains and the reservoirs, and they're all just minutes from downtown. This in-migration is changing the game and changing the landscape for Utah real estate. Newcomers often bring higher incomes or cash from selling in markets that are higher priced, and they're competing for the same homes as locals. The Downtown Alliance study says that downtown Salt Lake alone could see its population double by 2030, and that means thousands of new residents who need homes. It's not just the downtown area, though. Other areas like Daybreak and Point in the Mountain are seeing similar growth. But with more people comes more pressure on our housing supply, which brings us to our next big challenge. Here's the reality we're running out of places to build. The Wasatch Front is squeezed between mountains to the east, mountains to the west, and also a pretty big lake, which you've probably heard of. So land is limited. Utah faces an estimated 37,000 unit housing deficit already. That's going back all the way to the Great Recession. That's according to state data. And we need about 28,000 new units a year just to keep up with current demand. That's a tall order when land availability is tight. So, what are we going to see? Well, downtown Salt Lake can only grow up. Think taller buildings and higher density. We're seeing projects like the Worthington Residences, which is a popular 31-story luxury tower that just opened with about 350 units recently. But outside the urban core, it gets a little bit trickier. Areas like Daybreak and Point in the Mountain are expanding, but they're hitting their limits too. But developers are getting creative. They're repurposing old office buildings into apartments. This is what the South Temple Tower is in downtown, which is about 200 units. Still, the housing shortage means competition for homes will stay fierce and it will stay a hot market, especially as in-migration continues. So where's the growth happening? Let's look at some of the bigger projects that are shaping the real estate future here in the Salt Lake area. First, we have downtown Salt Lake. It's on the verge of a major transformation. It's already happening. We have the Sports, Entertainment, Cultural, and Convention District. That's the SECC. That's at the heart of it. The Smith Entertainment Group, led by Ryan Smith, he owns the Jazz. He owns the Utah Hockey Club that's new here in town. They have a $900 million project to revamp the Delta Center and to create a vibrant entertainment corridor area. And construction on that could start as early as next month, with phases rolling out over the next couple of years. This district's going to include state-of-the-art arenas, mixed-use buildings, pedestrian-friendly spaces. It's connecting the Delta Center to the Salt Palace Convention Center. And it's not all about sports. It's about concerts, cultural events, conventions. All these things draw millions of visitors every single year. In fact, an economic analysis by the Gardner Policy Institute estimates that this could bring 3,500 direct and indirect jobs from construction to hospitality and it could generate more than $700 million in annual spending once it's complete. That's huge. For real estate, this means more demand for housing downtown for both residents and short term rentals for visitors. The city's also investing in areas like the Rio Grande district, which blends housing, retail, and cultural spaces. If we move south, we start talking about areas like Daybreak in South Jordan. This is a master plan community that's becoming a powerhouse in the area. It's growing and growing and growing. And this includes the new Daybreak Field, which is where the Salt Lake Bees play. They're a minor league baseball team. They just barely played their first game in this new 8,000 square foot stadium a couple of days ago. It's the anchor also to downtown Daybreak, which is a mixed use hub, retail space, office space, and restaurants. And it's still only in its first phase. It's still growing as well. And that's not all that's going into the Daybreak area. There's a new Trax Red Line stop that just opened that makes it easier for people to get back and forth to downtown Salt Lake and other places around the valley. And future plans include a 200 unit apartment complex, an arts center with an 800 seat theater, even a University of Utah satellite campus that's set to break ground on 90 acres here pretty quick. Daybreak's goal is to be a walkable, transit connected community with housing, jobs, entertainment, everything you need, all contained within itself. And for real estate, this means more families and young professionals will look to and flock to South Jordan. And that's going to continue to drive up demand for homes in that area. But with land running out, Daybreak's growth will need to focus on density. That's going to be an emphasis on condos, townhomes, luxury apartments, and single family homes with smaller yards and more community space. Finally, let's look at Point of the Mountain. This area is fascinating to me. This is actually right down the road from where I live, so I get to see the construction, the things that are happening in there every day as I drive by it and drive through it. This area, it's between Salt Lake and Utah counties, sort of right in the middle. It's already a major tech hub that's projected to keep growing in size and influence. The Point of the Mountain State Land Authority, it's developing a massive innovation district, leveraging the region's tech talent and proximity to both Salt Lake and Provo. And it's already attracting top companies with job growth. And with job growth comes housing demand. On the old prison site in Draper, a new community is being built from the ground up called The Point. This is a 600-acre development. It's going to include housing, retail, green spaces. It's designed to be a model for sustainable growth, but here's the catch. Land constraints mean that this area will need to prioritize high-density housing to accommodate the influx of workers for the businesses that will reside there. For real estate, Point of the Mountain is a hot spot to watch. If you're a buyer or an investor, this area could offer opportunities as new homes come online, but expect competition as tech workers move in. So, what does all this mean for the future of Salt Lake real estate? The Wasatch Front is becoming a magnet, and already is, for jobs, people, and innovation. But our housing shortage and limited land means we're going to continue to see more vertical growth. And some people aren't going to like that, but that's the only option that we have here if we're going to meet the housing demand. That means taller buildings downtown. It means denser communities in Daybreak and Point of the Mountain. And it means new communities to the west and the south in places like Saratoga Springs, Eagle Mountain, Tooele, Grantsville, and then southern Utah County south of Provo. When we have these projects like the SECC district, the Daybreak Field, the new tech hub, these things are all creating vibrant, connected places to live and work and play, but they're also driving demand in an already tight market. For buyers, this means acting sooner rather than later. Whether it's a condo downtown or a home in Daybreak or a single family home with a little more yard space out in Eagle Mountain, buyers should be looking now for where they want to be for the next 5 to 7 to 10 years. For sellers, you're in a strong position. As demand grows, especially near these hubs, people are going to want homes like yours. And for investors, areas like Point of the Mountain are worth watching. At House Money Real Estate, I'm here to help you navigate this exciting future. And I'm curious what you think about these changes. Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you found this helpful, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and we'll talk to you next time on the House Money Podcast.